Hi everybody, my name is Lee Manning, one of the partners at Raffingers, dealing with recruitment companies and contractors. So just want a quick update on IR35, obviously hot topic at the moment, and obviously most of you would have heard about the changes that were announced last week, and nothing major, but I shall cover them as we go through the webinar. So just a bit of background on Raffingers. We're a firm of accountants dealing with strategy, wealth management, corporate finance, tax planning and other services in addition to compliance, accounts, tax and VAT. Been here too long, 30 odd years, come up to 33 years I think actually, as a Raffingers and a partner for God knows how many years, specialist in recruitment sector. So yeah, we've got quite a few clients in the recruitment space, so I know my way around recruitment companies and helping them achieve their business and personal goals. So just a quick, I'm not going to spend too long on the background of IR35. Most of you hopefully will know what's going on, but as a recap, it's going to be extended to the private sector from April 2020, and you can see how much they're looking to recover 1.3 billion in lost tax by 23-24. So basically it's shifting away from the contractor to make the decision whether they're caught by IR35, back now to the intermediary or the end client to make that decision. As you know, the consultation closed last May, and this is the big thing that last Friday that the government announced that they are actually going to review IR35, but very cleverly they decided that all they're going to review is the implementation of it. So as far as I can hear and see, definitely going to go ahead, but they're just looking at making it easier for the contractors and the end clients and the agencies to actually implement the IR35. So we're still going to go ahead. And then I found this nice link, which you'll see. These, to basically the Institute have put together practical questions to HMRC. And you can see some of these questions go on for like pages and pages, the sort of detail of how they're going to implement IR35. And you can see that they're the questions that they've put forward to HMRC, and hopefully this is their response. And it just goes on and on and on. You can see just sort of the complication of actually implementing this. And this is what hopefully the review will actually highlight. So who's going to be affected? So those who withdraw money from their personal service company, a PSC, as a dividend rather than salaries, or they leave the money in the company. So traditionally that's going to be all the PSCs, one-man band, limited companies that if it wasn't for their limited company, they would maybe be employed by the end client. And this is the big thing at the moment. So you've just got to obviously be aware, and to find out the end client's business, you need to determine whether that is a medium or large business. So if the end client where the contractor is working, the end return is more than 10 million, balance sheet total of not more than 5.1 million, or have no more than 50 employees, they're the criteria. You've got to have 2 out of 3 to determine whether the company is a medium or large. Basically, you need to go to the end client, and the end client will tell you straight away whether they're caught by this. And if it is a medium or large business, then the new IR35 rules only apply to that contractor. So it's quite important. You do need to find out if you're caught by it or not. So who is liable? Again, this is what's changed. If there's a chain of intermediaries and contractors used, you need to decide who needs to consider tax status or withhold tax and national insurance. So basically, whoever is paying the contractor is liable. So if it's the agent paying the contractor, they are liable for the tax. If it's the end client paying the contractor directly, they're liable for the tax. So the organisation paying the contractor is liable to undertake the CEST. And there's a whole load of arguments and discussions about how accurate the CEST test is. But it's a good starting point. I think the lawyers will turn around and say, look, you should have your own assessment of whether the contractor's caught, ignoring the CEST test, because they seem to think it's very biased to HMRC's point of view. but at least it's a good starting point. And the CES and the actual test has been improved massively over the last few months. So if you did look at it a while ago, I would suggest go back and have a look, because it has changed massively, and the questions are a lot more detailed. And it will determine whether the contractor is inside or outside IR35. Obviously, if you do the test and they are now inside IR35, then you've got the employer's national insurance now needs to be paid by the end client or the agency. So there's no getting away with it, basically as if they're an employee, and that's why they're taxing the company as if the company is an employee, to obviously recover the 13.8% that they're not getting now under the current system. So very important again, the employment status. It is anticipated that the contractor who is determined to be employed for tax may claim they also work with employment rights and be entitled to holiday pay and subject to minimum wage regulations and unfair dismissal rights. So the assessment, the employment status assessment, has to be done for each contractor, and a blanket approach should not be applied. However, in the press over the last few months, basically a lot of the banks and the large corporates are now applying a blanket approach. They do not want to have the admin or the responsibility of assessing each individual contractor, and they've come to the market and turn around and said, right guys, no contractors, you either go on payroll or our payroll, or you go to umbrella. And then it's basically moving that responsibility away from themselves. And this is the huge admin task that they've got to complete an SDS, a status determination statement. So basically the end client needs to establish whether they're in or outside IR35 and produce this statement to the agent, and then the agent then needs to pass it down to the contractor. And the statement needs to explain why they consider themselves to be inside or outside of IR35. So it's quite a huge task to go through. There is an appeal procedure which the contractor can appeal if they don't accept the ruling, and then hopefully they can get that changed. But obviously, in the meantime, the end client or the agency has to then deduct the tax if they think they're inside IR35 for that period until it gets resolved. So who is actually responsible for the tax liabilities? So the organisation with the responsibility for issuing the SDS, or the fee payer, if an agency involved, is responsible for any employment tax liabilities arising. So this has shifted the responsibility away from the contractor back to the agency and back to the end client. And you can see why a lot of the end clients have turned around and said, we don't want to take any of this responsibility. And also very cleverly, HMRC have now said that they can recover tax from any other relevant person. So if the end client turns around and disappears and doesn't pay the tax, then they're going to go after the agency. So it's any party involved in the payment to PSC. So they can go basically throughout the whole chain to recover the tax, which is basically make huge responsibilities onto the agency and to the end client, which is why a lot of people are now using umbrella companies. So what are the solutions? There's not many. They really have tightened up the whole IR35 regime. Obviously, you can amend the contract arrangement so the contract is generally engaged on a self-employed basis. We have seen that now contracts are actually being written based on deliverables, based on performance, based on real projects, and project-based, being invoiced based on an agreed quote proposal up front, rather than be done on an hourly or a monthly basis. So I think there is still a market for PSCs where it's very project-based and the contract is really strong, and you can demonstrate that you are self-employed. And then obviously the end client, if you've been working, if the contractor's working with the end client to create this contract and this working arrangement, then they're more likely to sign off that, yeah, definitely caught outside IR35 and there's no issues. And the HMRC can open investigations to check you're not disguised at any time. So this means that the only way to avoid IR35 is to make sure you're legitimately self-employed, which I think is the right thing to do. So if you do want to go down that self-employed route and try to show that you're an independent contractor and not caught by IR35, then these are some of the tips that we're sort of talking to our contractors and recruitment end clients about. So make sure you're in control. So you've got to decide how, when and where you do your work. You should also specifically reserve the right to turn down jobs you don't want to work on, and keep proof that you have this freedom, such as email trails, really important, because then there's no right of control. If possible, exercise your right to send a replacement. Again, this shows HMRC that the obligation for the work doesn't entirely fall on you. Again, a great pointer to self-employment. Again, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You serve more than one client, which has been around for a long time, which is quite common. It's never a good idea to rely just on one client for all of your income. And don't get sucked into the day-to-day employment sort of regime of your company. Don't let clients include you in the organisation chart, website, or give you company business cards. They wouldn't do that to a genuinely self-employed person. So you don't want your email signatures to say sort of operations director. You've got to be all of these sort of, this is all good evidence to show HMRC that you are generally self-employed. So there's some of the tips. And I think there's quite a few organisations out there, solicitors and other organisations that can actually help you put together a really strong contract that would fall outside IR35. So the CES test, if anyone hasn't yet looked at it, it's definitely worth going in, and this is the link to it. And basically, the link basically asks you now a lot of questions. I won't go through it all now because it'll take a while, but you can be, it can be anonymous, and it will actually give you a decision at the end based on your answers. And obviously the idea is to be as truthful as possible, and you can then keep this information as proof that everything is as it should be. And I would imagine they're going to keep amending this as they go on and get feedback over time. So what should you do now? Really important, confirm if the end client is a small company. Obviously, if it's small, nothing to worry about. If it's medium or large, you have to review all the contracts and go through the CES test with each contractor. Obviously, you need to find out from the end client what their views are on IR35. If they're having a blanket approach, then you've got a problem, because then you're going to have to either put them through your payroll or put them through an umbrella company. Or you decide that the company is taxed. I can't see the benefit of keeping your PSC and getting taxed as an employee, because you've obviously got the cost of running the company, the of obviously submitting accounts, tax returns, and you're getting no employment rights at all. So you're being taxed as the employee without all the employment rights. I can't see where the benefit will be. So a lot of people now looking at the market, going through umbrella companies. And regarding umbrella companies, you've got to be very careful that there are still companies out there not abusing the change in legislation, but they are over, they're saying that you can get maybe more than 55% return in your pocket. So where you are getting more than 55% return, it's more likely that the umbrella company is not doing what it should be doing and putting you through the payroll. It could be not a scam, but they could be avoiding the tax, and you could end up being responsible. So just watch that. All an umbrella company now is a payroll company. It's a payroll company that processes thousands and thousands of employees and records, and just has benefits of scale, where they could maybe they can offer benefits to the employees via something like Perkbox or their own sort of benefits system, And really, that's all an umbrella company is nowadays. Again, they've taken away a lot of the tax perks with the travel subsistence that were around a few years ago. So you do need to make sure you either team up with an umbrella company, a reputable one, or the contractor goes to the market and goes to those guys that are well known. Anyone that's offering more than 55% return is more likely to cause problems in the future. So watch the umbrella companies that you're going to go to really carefully. So this is sort of a brief teaser on what's coming up with IR35. We're going to be going into this in a lot more detail at our event on the 23rd of January at 2 o'clock at the 8 Club in near Bank Station. So we've got some great speakers as well as IR35. Andrew Marlowe is actually an IR35 specialist from solicitors called Law Speed, which you might have come across. So hopefully he's going to be there to answer loads of really complicated, hard questions that you guys might have to do with IR35 and how that's going to be implemented. We've also got digital marketing specialist Alex Fayers there, which would be great because he will talk about how you guys can help use digital marketing to improve the success rates of your recruitment business. Philip Ellis talking about exiting your company, maybe mergers and acquisitions, which would be really, really important, and how you can maximise the value of the sale of your business. And finally, you've got Bradley Plax talking about scaling your business for success, which would be, again, really good way to hear him how you can really grow your business. And obviously myself talking about cash flow management and talking about how you can grow your business and make it a lot more profitable. So based on if you sign up after this webinar, if you're not already coming, then you'll get 20% off the tickets, but you will get an invitation email straight after this presentation. So it'll be good to see you guys there on the 23rd. So if anyone's got any questions, then it'll be great if you could put it in the chat box, and then I can start looking and answering some of these questions. If I just get my presentation up so I can see all the Q&As. Is there any Q&As coming in? So there's no questions, which I'd imagine that's because I've done a great job with the presentation, or everyone's going to wait until the 23rd and grill the solicitor. The secret, I think, so the final word with IR35, you've got to do something now. You've got to have those conversations with the end client. You can't bury your head in the sand, because this is, as far as I can see, this is going to come 1st of April. Everywhere I'm reading, they're saying that this will be implemented. You need to make sure that you've either got them off, you've got them, they're not contracting anymore, going through an umbrella company, or you're renegotiating the rates. So really important, do something now, otherwise it's going to be a little bit of a nightmare in a couple of months' time. So thank you all for listening, and hopefully see you on the 23rd. Thank you.